for the herd, that's me. Chris Broussard joins us in about 15 minutes. Listen, I love Chris Broussard. Like, I don't just say that figuratively. Like, I think people say that about a lot of coworkers. Oh, I love this person. There's only like 4 coworkers at FS1 that I truly love. A lot I like, but Broussard's one of them that I actually love. But my God, he had bad Clippers takes last year, and I don't think he's learned his lesson. We will find out if he's learned his lesson in about 15 minutes. But right now, I want to talk about the Nets. So the story from last night with the Nets has to be first, second, and third, Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant. This is a guy who, the last time we saw him healthy, he was clearly and without question the second best basketball player alive, and has a strong argument that for a decade straight, he'd been the second best basketball player alive. And there's no shame in that. He just happens to be cursed by playing in the exact same era as the greatest basketball player to ever live. But when you blow your Achilles and then you don't play for nearly 600 days, there was fair trepidation and concern. What version of Kevin Durant are we going to see? Based, again, on the tiny sample size of last night, and honestly, just the first half last night, because this game was such a laugher, you know what version it looks like we're going to see? The only version we've ever seen. The KD that walked into Texas as a freshman and was a 30-point-per-game scorer as a 175-pound 18-year-old. The KD that I actually was at his final game as a Seattle Supersonic in Seattle, who 20 games into his career, you're like, oh, this guy's going to win half dozen scoring titles, an MVP or more. That's who we saw last night. The Kevin Durant scoring machine, who is an overused term in sports these days, is, oh, he's a unicorn. Oh, he's a unicorn. If there's so many unicorns, they're not unicorns. He actually is one. Guy who's 7'1", with that jump shot and those handles. He is the only player that has ever been like Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. And he appears to be back fully formed. And any team with Kevin Durant is going to be a contender. And on top of that, Kyrie reminded us, hey, man, when I'm not talking about chakras and the third eye and, you know, what does government mean to you, I am a bit of a magician with the basketball. A transcendent offensive player. Kyrie only played 20 games last year, put up 17 in the first quarter. So the Nets looked a lot like I expected them to look, which is they are going to be the #1 offense in basketball. Joe Harris will become a household name by the end of the year. Karis LeVert might win 6th man of the year if that's the role they continue with him. That team's offense is going to be better than any offense in the league. I'd bet a lot of money on it. I am more concerned about everything else. Most notably, I think they might have the #1 offense to go along with a bottom 5 defense. I think they are going to be an aggressively bad defensive team. You didn't see that last night because of the competition, but there is no precedent in NBA history for a truly bad defensive team, at least modern NBA history, winning a title. And that's why, as great as the offense is, not only do I not think they're going to win the title, I don't think they're going to make the finals. And right now, I wouldn't bet on them, as presently constituted, to make the to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Bucks and the Sixers are a more complete team. And you look at the East, what do the Bucks, Sixers, Raptors, Celtics, Heat all have in common? Top 10 defenses. I think the Nets are going to be a bottom 5 defense, and I think you're going to see that play out over the course of the year. And one other small thing, just to keep an eye on before we get to herd line. Here's the post game, a seemingly nice moment that made you go, here's Kyrie Irving and Steve Nash.
This is the start of something new right here, man. And I'm grateful to have you as the head of our snake for our coach. And I'll go to war with you any day, Steve.
Oh, a touching moment. Kyrie Irving awarding Steve Nash the game ball. And it is a touching moment. And it was sweet of Kyrie. And it was absolutely well-intentioned. Like a lot of Kyrie's stuff is well-intentioned. With that said, now I've never been an NBA player. But in my experience, game balls are awarded by the coach. And like, I don't know, maybe Nash planned on giving the game ball to Kevin Durant. First game back in 500 and some days. Folks will say, Nick, this is why Kyrie hates the media, stuff like this. I'm kind of joking, but I also am serious in this regard. When times get tough, you need to know who's in charge. And I do wonder if that's going to be a problem for the Nets, because I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing. I think they're going to have major problems on one end of the court that I don't know that Nash or lead assistant Mike D'Antoni are positioned to fix. And secondarily, you're going to have to deal with some potentially unhappy players in guys who were this level on the team last year and are now this level and whose names are being bandied about in trade rumors. So I don't think it's an easy job for Steve Nash. And I think even when Kyrie Irving is well-intentioned, he might not be making it an easier job for Steve Nash. But it was great to see KD back, and it's great to see KD, who I think is the second most likely person to win League MVP this year. Here's Joy Taylor with the news.
No.
Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News.
You know, Nick, I had forgotten just how much I truly disagree with you on so many things. I'm like, no.
Oh, what happened?
This and that. It's okay. We'll get to it throughout the show.
No, jump in.
I just want to know if I am a part of the, like, 4 beloved coworkers that you have at FS1.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Chris Broussard, Joy Taylor,
you want a list?
Colin Cowherd, and one that will remain unnamed. That way everyone else can think it's them.
Very clever. Very clever. You
See?
are on my
There
list
you
as
go.
well. But I do love Danielle Moore, as you know, just
Thank you,
to
Joy.
remind you. Well, Bill
That's my
Belichick.
wife, of course. Yeah, I get it.
Bill Belichick has been asked numerous times throughout the season if he's planning on making a change at the quarterback position. And at today's press conference, he finally decided he is done answering that question.
With this being the first practice of the week and you guys going through your meetings the last couple days, were you sticking with Cam at quarterback?
Yeah. Mike, we're not answering that question every day. We've been through this for a month. How about if I let you know if we're going to make a change?
That's not how it works, Bill, but I do appreciate the frustration with the question. It's a fair question. It's fair. It's not that, like, Cam has been playing at the level that this is out of bounds to ask.
I've been on a hot streak on sports predictions, partially because LeBron and Mahomes keep winning everything, so that makes me I can pick with my heart and I just get to be right. I was so wrong about Cam this year. I thought the Patriots would be a contender with him. I thought he'd be awesome. With that said, my question is this: how awful must Stidham look in practice? Like, if Stidham, they're eliminated from the playoffs, Cam's not under contract, Stidham is, he's younger, Cam looks like he can't throw 9 yards. Like, is Stidham, what's Stidham doing in practice? How can he not possibly get a look at this point? It must be atrocious, because there's no other reason you wouldn't trot him out there, at least to give him some game experience. So to me, that's almost more about Stidham than it is about anybody else. And we got a little glimpse of that, Joy, when Cam had COVID and they had to pick a starter, and they're like, hey, dust off Brian Hoyer. Let's see what he can do. See what he can do against the Chiefs. And so Stidham just must not be able to play, man. Like, that's the only thing I can take away from it, Joy.
Yeah, it's a fair observation. It's